I'm Dr. Shawn M. Nicholson, and I would like to thank you for checking out my YouTube channel, Dr. Shawn M. Nicholson. If you are listening to my Pass Eye On podcast on iTunes, Amazon, or Spotify, thank you for tuning in. If you're following me on social media platforms at Dr. Shawn M. Nicholson, I appreciate your support. Or if you're just scrolling and checking out my posts, welcome. I'm extremely blessed to experience things that have brought me to this part of my journey. I will be the first to say it has not always looked or even felt good. However, I am fortunate to have learned from each experience. As a result, I have activated the passion to learn, and as I learn, I teach, or as I like to say, pass I on. I'm here to assist you in activating your passion, your potential, and your purpose. I do a great deal of mind mapping, and I have placed passion, potential, and purpose into three buckets. For passion, it's bring all of you to what you do. View your time, your energy, and your resources not as fixed, but as fluid. Build a culture of continuous improvement, no matter what the circumstances. If overwhelmed, disengage from what's already out of your hands and focus on the big picture. As relates to potential, if you limit yourself to what's comfortable, you deny yourself for what is possible. Learn to push beyond the limits as you face adversity. If you think what you're doing now is difficult, it's probably time to try something harder. Connect to purpose, recommit to why this even matters, not once, but constantly. Then, lastly, purpose. Is the future going to shape you, or will you shape the future? Success is not determined by circumstances, but by your actions. Lead to change that will unlock your greatest opportunities. Then transcend your current level. You must change your patterns as well as your actions. It's time for you to activate your passion, your potential, and purpose. You can learn more about my system in my book, Pass Eye On, the 7 building blocks to sustainability and success. You can go to drshawnmnicholson.com and click on shop, or you can get your ebook anywhere you buy electronic books. Now, this is Black History Month, and I would like to salute those Black business owners and those Black individuals and entrepreneurs that are across the country. There are individuals, businesses that have paved the way and made significant inroads with history, including religious movements, churches that date back to the 1800s that remain relevant and have stood the test of time. Up to the early 20th century, most American knowledge of Black history was limited to African American struggle through slavery and emancipation. The significance of Black history is the recognition of the advancements and the accomplishments of a group of people once defined by the Constitution as three-fifths of a person. While slavery in America hosts the background and the backdrop of Black history, the African American impact on history reaches way beyond the country's early history, as African Americans have made significant contribution. During this Black History Spotlight, I want to focus in on a few people that I have kind of put in those three buckets: passion, potential, and purpose. Did you know O.W. Gurley? He was a school teacher, and this gentleman was very, very profound, if you will. History has shown that O.W. Gurley, a school teacher, as I mentioned, from Pine Bluff, Arkansas, built an all Black neighborhood in Tulsa, Oklahoma called Greenwood, which became known as Black Wall Street. The enclaves serve as a refuge for African American uh, seekers, if you will, in the middle for a middle class life and a safe haven from the lynchings and racial violence of the South until it was destroyed by a white mob in 1921 during the Tulsa race riots. Now, we're familiar with that. Some of us are familiar with that history, and some of us are familiar with that tragedy that took place. And it just was just terrible, terrible. But the Tulsa race massacre that took place on May 31st and June 1st in 1921, when the mobs of these white residents, some of whom had been appointed as deputies and armed by city officials, attacked these black residents and destroyed the homes and businesses and churches of the Greenwood district in Tulsa, Oklahoma. A sad day. Additionally, in my city, Richmond, Virginia, there is a place called Jackson Ward, which, similar to Tulsa, this was a thriving African American and business community in the city. In the midst of this, you would find what is still there, the Hippodrome Theater, which is located in Richmond, Virginia, and it's situated in the historical part of the African American neighborhood of Jackson Ward, which was referred to the Harlem of the South during the 1920s. In the early 1900s, the community was filled with Black owned businesses and creative entrepreneurs. Maggie Walker was in the driver's seat, if you will, steering Black Richmonders towards economic independence. She had the passion to do that. I want to encourage you to support and encourage African American owned businesses in your communities. Well, I need to cut to a quick break, but please like, share, subscribe. Also, feel free to ask me questions on my platforms. I have two questions or a two-part question for you. What are you passionate about? Tell me how you started your business. I'm Dr. Shawn M. Nicholson, and this is my Black History Spotlight. Remember, passion is the ability to pass I on. We'll be right back. All right, we are back. We are back. This is Black History Month, and again, I would like to salute those Black business owners and entrepreneurs and people in general in our communities that have done so much that sometimes are not even talked about or discussed. You know, there are individual businesses and people and churches that have paved the way and made significant inroads for us within history. And yes, this does include religious movements and churches that date back, as I mentioned before, to the 1800s, and they still remain relevant as they have stood the test of time. So we thank you and we salute you during this Black History Spotlight. In 2004, a gentleman by the name of John William Templeton co-founded the National Black Business Fund as an effort to expand the support and the existence of Black-owned businesses across the nation. Therefore, August is recognized as National Black Business Month across the country. We talked about passion, and now I'm moving into potential. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. prophesied in his last speech, we are very close to achieving the promised land. Mr. Templeton said it is really about information and implementation. Information and implementation. Wow, two powerful words. Templeton believed that the promised land is Black businesses. After all, they account for 10% of the nation's GDP, or the gross domestic product. Right now, Black businesses account for 4%. We are moving in the right direction, he said. And he mentioned a few years back, I think 2 or 3, maybe 4 years back, at 2% that they were at, or we were at as a community of Black businesses, 2%. And now we are north of 4%. African Americans make up roughly 14% of the population. And if we could reach 10% of the GDP, of the economic, what type of economic impact would be sustained, or rather it would be substantial. Black business owners account for, again, 10% of the US business and about 30% of all minority owned businesses. According to the US Census Bureau, that accounts the approximately 3 million companies. 3 million companies are owned by African Americans. Other categories include advertisement firms, auto dealership, consulting services, which is me, restaurants, barbershops, beauty salons, and much more. We are powerful. So as I think about potential, I wanted to share this. Did you know Black students had 8% of MBA seats, less than 14% Black share of the population? Additionally, Black students earn 14% of bachelor's degrees, 7% of all master's degrees, and 5% of all doctorate degrees conferred in science and technology, engineering, and mathematics. You know that as STEM. These fields were the numbers from pre-COVID. Black Americans comprise under 10% of students in the MBA program on average, and that number has grown over the past decade. In my opinion, I say like the Honorable Louis Farrakhan says, respectfully, universities haven't done enough to recruit Black students, who often have smaller professional networks and also are disproportionately affected by high tuition costs and lack of diversity among the faculty and admissions experts. I need to cut to the chase, if you will. We as a people, as we stand on the shoulders of those that have paved the way for so many of us, need to do a better job unifying ourselves, in educating ourselves, in being more knowledgeable about the things that are out there. We have so many individuals. I'm of Generation X, and we have so many of our young people that are coming behind us, the millennials and the Gen Zs, and then eventually I believe it's going to be the Gen As. We got to set the stage and really create wealth and create opportunities and create knowledge bases that they can come and they can take part and excel in everything that they do. I need to cut to a quick break, but please like and share and subscribe, and also feel free to ask me questions. Answer this in the comment section, if you will. Are you a trendsetter? Are you a trendsetter? I'm Dr. Shawn M. Nicholson, and this is my Black History Spotlight. Remember, passion is the ability to pass eye on. We'll be right back. All right, all right. We are back. We are back. Thank you again for tuning in. We appreciate all the support that you give us, and we are pleased to be able to pass on. Well, we talked about passion, we talked about potential, and now we're going to talk about purpose. As I mentioned, this is Black History Month, and I would like to salute those Black business owners and entrepreneurs and those individuals, past, present, and even future, across the country and the globe. There are individuals and businesses that have paved the way and made significant inroads with our history, including religious movements and churches that date back to the 1800s that remain relevant and have stood the test of time. We all have scars from our past. There is a degree of trauma that each one of us experience. The question is, how do we recover? How do we make sure as a people that we are able to change the narrative? I believe that first we must heal. Healing is crucial to our individual and our collective success. Will you share with our millennials and our Gen Zs, and again, soon to be Gen As, your journey from pain to purpose? As I look at purpose, this comes to mind. Did you know that New York has the most Black owned businesses in the US, followed by Atlanta? The highest ratio of Black owned businesses is in Washington, D.C., where 28% of all businesses are Black owned. The growth of Black owned franchise businesses has been explosive. We have been handed the mantle. We got next. In the and in the words of Joe Madison, what are you going to do about it? I encourage you again to support as well as encourage African American businesses that are in your community. I encourage you to support them and to patronize them and to brag about them. And let's try to get back to Tulsa, Greenwood District, Black Wall Street, as it were. We have the power to do it. The Black dollar is so powerful. Look at all of the different brands that we support, that we make rich. Look at all of the companies that have been created, that we have supported and made wealthy. We should keep that wealth internally so that we can really do some great work. Well, I am Dr. Shawn M. Nicholson, and this has been my Black History Spotlight. Remember, passion is the ability to pass on. So until the next time, take care. Nicholson, and this is my Black History Spotlight. Across the United States, today is the first day of Black History Month, although we celebrate Black history every day. I've been fortunate to have the passion to learn, and as I learn, I teach, or as I say, pass I on. This is Black History Month, and I would like to salute those Black business owners and entrepreneurs across the country whose shoulders I stand on. There are individuals, businesses that have paved the way and made a significant inroads with history, including religious movements, churches that date back to the 1800s that remain relevant and have stood the test of time. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't share my Black history, the legacy of which I am connected to. Today, my family unfortunately mourns the passing of my uncle, Ruffin Walton Jr. Remember that name. We just had his homegoing service on yesterday. Homegoing is, in my culture, the same thing as a funeral and or a memorial service. I thought what better honor than to let the world know about my family, the Waltons, not from the television show, but the real Waltons. I want to thank my first cousin, Stephanie, that provided this rich history as a part of our family's legacy. Let me tell you about my great grandmother, Louise Callis Walton, my mother's grandmother. The descendants of Louise and Frank Walton are intricate members of the Callis family. The name Callis is well known throughout Freeman and Brunswick County, Virginia. People in this particular area have known many people bearing the name Callis and still probably find it unbelievable that all of these people who bear that name are descendants of two black men. These two black men were brothers born in slavery. Upon being freed from slavery, they made their way on foot from Louisiana to Tortorial, Virginia, which is in Brunswick County. And I'll talk about that a little more later. Around the 1800s, late 1800s, 1866 to be exact. Many have speculated that the Underground Railroad served as a safe haven along that particular route. These two brothers, called Ira and Ruffin, were trusted slaves to their master. Prior to their master leaving to join the Confederate Army in the Civil War, they helped him bury a large sum of money. Even though the Emancipation Proclamation had been signed and the Civil War had ended, they waited for their master to return. When it became apparent that he was not going to come back and the carpetbaggers were beginning to invade the area, they dug up the money, assumed the last name of their former master, and set out for a new life as Ira Callis and Ruffin Callis. Upon their arrival to Tutorial, the city of Tutorial is located in Brunswick County inside the state of Virginia, population of 3,300 or better according to the last census. As free men, they used the money and they purchased land. Ruffin purchased around 900 acres of land for $1 per acre, and Ira purchased several hundred acres as well. Ruffin met and married Rachel Goodrich, another name to remember, who had been a slave or a house slave to Willie Goodrich on the plantation in Lawrenceville, Virginia. To this union of Ruffin and Rachel were born 11 children. Ruffin, who at one time was one of the richest black men in the Brunswick County area. He was a stone mason by trade. Many of the stone chimneys throughout Brunswick County, and some of which are still standing, were his handiwork. Family gatherings were held at the home of Ruffin and Rachel every Sunday, with all of the children and the grandchildren in attendance. He was an outstanding black citizen in the community, and he enjoyed his horses and carriages for taking his wife and family to church and other places. He was very proud of his family and provided for each of his children 50 acres of land in Tortorial district, and even the 48 in Sturgeon district. On that land still sits the Waltons family home. It is a major part of our history and the heritage of the Walton children. Louise Callis met and married Frank Walton, and out of that union were born 13 children. Ruffin Walton, yes, my grandfather has arrived. My mother's father, Ruffin Walton, married Dorothy Harris, my grandmother, and from that union were 6 children, and the eldest being Ruffin Walton Jr. My grandfather was a farmer and an entrepreneur and had just about every farm animal one could think of. He also owned the first store in that town and was always giving and helping people. I've seen paperwork of business transactions that he made and of property that was purchased, that he owned, that was passed down and still in our family today. I thank God daily for my family. The heritage of the Waltons is a rich one in which we are proud to pass on for generations to come. Our roots are firmly planted in the sands of time, and our branches are spreaded into all parts of the country and beyond. With such a rich heritage behind us and God before us, our branches will continue to spread into eternity. I am Dr. Shawn M. Nicholson, and this is my Black History Spotlight. Remember, passion is the ability to pass I on.